Hey, World Entertainment, and this is a crazy story, but for some reason they're looking to make a sequel to Labyrinth. Labyrinth, of course, the David Bowie, Jennifer Connelly classic from the 80s, and it looks like Doctor Strange director Scott Derrickson is the one developing it. So we'll have a look at this article that talks about it, and then we'll have a little discussion about it. So it says Labyrinth sequel still in development, according to director Scott Derrickson. Back in 2020, shortly after stepping away from Marvel Studios' Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Scott Derrickson signed on to helm another sequel set in a mind-bending alternate dimension for Sony-owned studio TriStar Pictures, a follow-up to the Jim Henson's classic fantasy adventure Labyrinth. Updates have been practically non-existent since, so it was generally assumed that the project must have been shelved. But the filmmaker has now revealed that Labyrinth 2 is still in development, although he has no idea when it will actually enter production. So he says, We never got the script all the way to a place where the studio wanted to make it, but I was very proud of the work that we did on it, Derrickson explained to comicbook.com. And it's a hard project to turn into something commercially viable because it's so imaginative and surreal that there's no way that it can be done cheaply. And at the same time, it's so daring and different that it is a tough movie for a studio to feel confident that it has enough commercial value to earn a profit. So I think that it's a tough nut to crack, but all I can tell you is I'm very proud of the work that we did on it. We certainly had a great film in mind. So everything there sounds like he's saying we had a script, but the studio were just like, yeah, we can't make that. But it has a little bit more. So when asked if the plan was to cast another actor as Jared in the wake of David Bowie's death, Derrickson declined to share any details, but says they had a really cool idea. And he says, because the project is still in development, I probably shouldn't say what the plans are because I think we had a really cool idea, but I don't want to blow that in case the movie does get made. So that's kind of sounding like it's possible that he might be hoping Sony or TriStar sell the thing to maybe Netflix or something. It's very strange. But now I think we need to ask big question about this is why make a sequel to Labyrinth? If you've never seen Labyrinth, check it out. It's a great performance from Bowie, and of course anyone who's seen the movie and knows the movie will recognize the power of the voodoo, hoodoo, you do. It's full of animatronics and puppets and stuff like that. Super young Jennifer Connelly. I think it was like one of, if not her first role in acting. And she played the sister of a little baby who Bowie takes. And Bowie is the Goblin King in the Labyrinth. And he takes the child, if I remember rightly, the kid's name was Oscar, I think. Jennifer Connelly's character's name was Sarah. And she finds herself down in the labyrinth and comes across all these crazy different creatures, and they have to try and find their way to get the baby, her brother, back. She's left to babysit him while her parents go out, and he gets kidnapped by the Goblin King. Bowie was a standout in the role, and his Goblin King, of course, is so recognizable and iconic. You have to ask, why would you ever want to do another one? I remember hearing years ago them toying with the idea of maybe a prequel, and they were looking at so much, but of course Bowie was still alive when that conversation was happening. But now that he's passed away, I don't understand the thought process behind them wanting to do a sequel or any film in it. You know, if anything, you think you'd be hearing, oh, they want to remake it, which also would just be a disaster. But if you look at the original and you see all the animatronics and just the world that they built for that movie, which came out in 86, by the way, it's strange to hear Derrickson saying, you know, it would cost so much to make. Would it? It's like, you can see where a budget would go, but that just means that the stuff they were writing and planning was so extravagant and so over the top that it would run the budget up. But it's also interesting to hear that the studio, who you think would be like, oh yeah, puppets, look at all the toys we could sell from this crap, make 10 of them. No, instead they flat out went, yeah, we don't know if this is viable. And when you take it being made in 86, or the original coming out in 86, to then, you know, probably earliest, if they were to make this, probably 2026. Yeah, that's a huge gap. What way is inflation going to be at that stage for the profit that they would probably have to make back? Which is why I think when he's saying, you know, we want to kind of, I don't want to spoil it just in case it gets I think he's hoping that they give it to some streaming service, because we know Sony make movies and sell them to rent to the likes of Netflix and Amazon stuff. They're one of the only studios who said, yeah, we're not making a streaming service, we'll make movies and content and we'll rent it to them. Like, we'll sell it to the streamers. And it seems to be a viable option because that's how they're making the money. But again, I think the big question has to be, why would you want to attempt to make a series, especially without Bowie? You know, it's understandable that they could say, hey, we'll bring Jennifer Connelly back, and maybe this time it's her kid's kid that gets kidnapped or some crap. Don't know. But to try and do it without Bowie, no. I don't think anyone would want it. And I honestly don't think it's going to happen. But they're talking about it, and to say it's still in development, yeah, that's worrying. I don't know. But there you go. Apparently they want to do a sequel to Labyrinth. God only knows why. And with that, I'll leave it there for this one. So cheers. I'll catch you in the next one.